Okay, we'll call the November 6th, 2023 Management Services Committee to order. Is there you have the roll. Okay.
John, says dry bushels right here. Oh, at the bottom in little print.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So,
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Public comment? Seeing none. Maintenance supervisor report. Chris texted me this morning, he is ill, he will not be here. County farm management issues. Their report is through the farm, got passed around.
all I wrote on this, it's on everything I think we want to know is at the bottom of page 3, right here. Their average and everything. Dry bushels.
Is there any other farm management issues that we need to discuss? Fertilizer should be getting applied and all that stuff. I guess just as bring it up again, just to see what people think. Do we want to continue with the way we put out the bid? Do we want to try this other thing? Do we want to just continue to think about it, but I want to bring it up so that we do think about it?
I kind of like the idea of the electronics. I don't know how different it would be for us. I would want to time it so that it ended like hopefully during our meeting. You know, we talked about that a little bit. So if we put that the bids end at say 8:30 on the date of our meeting, if there were additional last minute bids, hopefully by 9:30 they'd be all done and we could act on it. I don't know, what's everybody else think? Is it complicated? You just want to stay with the program? I'm okay if you just want to do paper bids like we've done in the past. I just think we would reach a larger audience.
That's where one that I talked to said that they were okay with the way we've been doing it, but then that might be because that might limit the number of people involved. I don't know. I mean,
Would they say it would reach within how many miles? 30 miles or
60,
60? I
it was,
think-
it covered the whole county.
But on the other hand, if we wanna, these people have been in business for 3 years. That insurance portion that he talked about is brand new. If we wanted to go another 3 years and look at it again, I'm fine with that too. I don't know, what do you guys think?
I think it's a good idea, but it has its downfalls too. If it's only in the 60-mile radius, it doesn't take in the people that are currently farming the ground. And then it's paid for by the people that are the tenants. But it's still, that's tenant, that money
May not sit well.
would not sit well, and it takes it away from what we would get. But I don't remember what,
That's
5%?
4% of the gross.
Yeah, so. I don't know.
The charging the bidder has become pretty much the norm, especially with, livestock auctions are almost all online now.
Yeah, I know.
They
Right.
may have an in-person
Well, and
component,
even
but-
machinery, Mallory's is online,
Yeah.
and I don't know who's paying the commission there, but I'm gonna guess probably the buyer.
Yeah, but
Or
this
what's the seller?
is rather new, I think, for land.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, and, we don't need to be the innovator.
And that's what I was
If the other
thinking. I
is
was thinking
working-
maybe we ought to, what do we got, 3 years with this current contract?
Yeah, this one will be, this next year will be when we do it.
For how many years?
For 3.
That's what we've done in the past.
Maybe we'll wait till the next time around.
That's workable. That's
Let's see how it goes. They may not be existence
Well,
at that
that's what
time.
I said, this company's been in business for 3 years.
But if I were a tenant, I don't think I'd like to go that way, I'll be honest with you. So,
if I remember right, the bids are out there, but who bid it isn't out there, right? So,
We can see the bidders, the other bidders can't see the bid. I do like that aspect of it.
Usually the people employing their services are absentee landowners, like somebody who owns land in Illinois and lives in
Right.
Florida and knows nothing about farming or anything. I think we come with a larger knowledge base that we can kind of control it ourselves.
Right.
So I would not be in favor.
I'm fine with leaving it a paper bid for
Okay.
next year and looking at it again in
in
3 years. I
a
don't
couple
think
months, I may bring it up again,
that's okay.
but
Well, one of us might talk to somebody and get another perspective or have additional input.
Yeah.
And we might want to revisit it. We've got time, so why don't you do what you said?
yeah,
Well,
and I just wanna keep it top of mind.
if you were an Iroquois County bidder,
Yeah.
wouldn't you rather have it come in here and do it, the rest of Iroquois County people instead of the whole thing,
Absolutely.
You rank round, right?
Yes, yeah, yeah. I think we should maybe spend a little more effort, advertising if we're putting it out for bid, maybe increase the bidder base.
And I don't disagree with you, John, but where do we do that?
Yeah, we hardly have a paper anymore.
Right.
And that's where they would put out, they said, sent postcards or something to everybody or a letter. And all that database. Which I don't know, maybe you could get that from, but over there.
Oh, the FSA.
I don't know.
You go to Farm Credit, they advertise it. Banks or the elevators. I saw one at the elevator the other day.
Maybe we can look into that kind of stuff in the meantime.
I'm wondering about that. That might be a good idea if we printed
Flyer?
this size flyer, mailed it to the elevators, and where else did you guys say?
Credit offices and stuff like
The
that,
farm-
banks and the credit.
Yeah,
Banks stick them up on the wall.
right,
Yeah,
right. That might not be a bad idea, and ask them to please post it on their,
bulletin board.
yeah. I think that's a good
Yeah,
idea.
'cause I read them when I go in there.
Then on the website and and in the paper.
But the number of people that get papers anymore
Not very many. Not very many.
Are there any other farm issues?
Can I keep this?
We'll move on to animal control building and more. You got some handouts, and then John's gonna talk on what handouts mean.
Just to recap briefly, last month we approved the architect Jeff Jarvis, and he's moving forward with that. I got an email from him early this morning, in fact, saying that he's making progress and should be ready to present some preliminary stuff to us in the next week or so. So I think that's a good thing. In the meantime, Lyle and Doug Geiger and myself have gotten together and sought some bids on the site engineering part of it. I believe you have a copy of both of those that Amanda passed out this morning. Just quickly in reviewing them, I think certainly from a cost standpoint, well, let me back up. Mr. Jarvis has indicated to us that he feels that both of those bidders could do the job very well, so. And that he could work with them, so apparently there's no real concern in that area. I guess the biggest concern is in the money part of it. My take on it is that I don't think Biggest is interested in doing the job. Their price is very high. Almost $20,000, which is more than what we had put out in our tentative budget to begin with. And when you look at the bid from MG2A, well, it's much less than what we're budgeting. And I think from all we can determine at this time, they're very capable of doing the job that we need to get done over there. So,
Is this one MG2A?
yes. We've asked them to submit a more formal type of proposal, which they're gonna be doing, but it's gonna embody everything that's in that email.
Okay.
So I think one thing we're looking for this morning would be to get that site engineering proposal approved by the committee and next Tuesday by the board. Also, another thing that we did was, when we were considering some of this, Lyle and Doug and I met together, and we felt like that in order to move this project along at the pace we'd like to see it move, that there's gonna be a number of things that are gonna come up. For example, with the architect, when he presents his preliminary plans, the location of some of the things in there is something that's gonna have to be decided upon, and I believe the coroner is probably gonna have an awful lot of input into that part of it. But the point is that if Lyle and Doug and myself were given the authority to make those decisions as they come up, we would get around the obstacle that we have where it has to come to the committee and then go to the board, and I mean, the delays that occur there are really very difficult to move the project along. So Doug and I went over and talked to Mr. Devine about this last Friday, or Thursday, excuse me. And he agreed. He thinks that there's no problem for us, the county board, to act as a general contractor on the project. He doesn't see any issues with the procedures like I just outlined. In other words, we'll still be going out for bids, and those bids will come before the committee to be approved and by the board. We're not overriding that process. It's some of the little decisions that have to be made, answering questions or whatever have you in the progress of the project. So that would mean that between Lyle and Doug and myself, one of us or whatever will be available all the time for any of these kinds of things to monitor the progress of the project and so forth.
So we need a motion.
We'd like to have a motion to approve MG2A for the site engineering work.
Okay.
They've indicated in their proposal that they can get busy on it about 2 weeks after we give them the go-ahead, which probably isn't gonna be obviously until the 14th of this month when the full board meets. Doug did send a memo to MG2A advising them that we thought, when they say we, Lyle, myself, and Doug thought that their proposal was the best one if they wanted to kind of make room in their schedule to get it going and so forth. But until we have the formal process, why we have to get that done. So yes, we need a motion to approve MG2A, and then another motion if you want to go along with the idea that Lyle and myself and Doug can represent the board insofar as the general contract part of the project.
I'll make a motion that we use MG2A.
Is there a second?
Is the total, well, I got questions, I have questions.
Yeah, but if we don't want to issue
Okay,
amounts.
I know. So, you need a second and then we can discuss, right? So I'll second that and let's discuss, okay. So is the total in their proposal fixed? That's not subject to change unless
It's
the first paragraph, if that becomes an issue, detention?
Well,
That's covered in the last item down there as well, which may not be.
Oh, I
something we
see
need to
that.
do.
It's a conditional add-on.
Right,
So we would deduct that amount from the total fee if that's not required.
correct.
Okay.
So, yeah, they separated out the different phases and
It's
anything
less
that's not
cost
required.
to us.
I would, like to, at least the committee, when the three of you, if we approve that as a committee here, that we could get, an email or something that today we decided we're going to put the bathroom here and a window there and whatever, or whatever little decisions, so we are up to date coming into the next meeting, where we would, of course, you'd be updating us, but if you could keep us informed with emails, informational.
I don't see any problem with that. And I don't know, I mean, obviously, we don't know how much or what significance any of this is gonna be anyway, because you never know what kind of problems you might encounter, but,
Well, right, but that's an additional,
I mean, I'm
Aspect.
hoping it'll be very minimal, if at all, really, to be honest about it. I know, like, for example, here, the email that I got from the architect this morning, if he's gonna have his preliminary things ready in a week or so, he's gonna wanna come down here and meet with us to go over them and so forth. So if we have to wait until the December meeting to approve those things, that's kind of what we're talking about doing.
right, I understand the timing in that, I just don't wanna, suddenly go, I didn't know that.
No, I don't see any problem with doing that, that's fine.
Are we gonna run into any problem with fill on this one, in the northeast corner, there's nothing there?
Well, at this point in time, I would have to say, quite honestly, we're not for sure 100%. I don't think it's gonna be an issue or a problem. I think that's part of what the site engineering is gonna determine though.
Yeah.
Because there's gonna have to be fill excavated in order for the concrete to get poured. So how much of that's gonna take and how that can be used to fill in the lower spots and any other modifications that have to be made that's what the site engineering is gonna determine for us. So at this point in time, I think it's all gonna work out okay. Nobody has said it isn't, nobody thinks it isn't, but until it's actually done, we're not sure exactly how that's gonna be. If we have to put a detention pond in there, and that's something that has to be worked out with the city doesn't know. They've already been contacted. Eric Brandt says he doesn't know if we need to do that or not. So that's an issue that's gonna have to be decided. But if we had to do that, then there'd be a lot of fill right there that could be transported into, to make up the
Well,
other. But
You can't just use anything as fill. That's where some of that black dirt is gonna have to be hauled out.
Yeah, clay, but
Yeah, it's gonna have to be gravel, clay, sand, something that's packable.
right now, I don't think we know how far down the black dirt goes.
Right. So hopefully the engineering tells us all that.
The black dirt does have a use though, because as Lyle says, where the concrete's gonna go, you have to have a certain kind of soil, but beyond that, there's gonna have to be some slopes and so forth that may have to be redone a little bit, and so the black dirt may fit in there too, so. This is all things that the site engineer is gonna work out.
is this MG2A, are they, aware that we're trying to put a tile around there? And, of course, it hasn't been approved yet, but, I mean, and that kind of flies in the face of the stormwater detention.
Well, I'm not sure about that part, because Doug is the one that contacted one, and he couldn't be here today, he's out of town for a couple of weeks, but.
The way I understand it, there's not enough there to make a stormwater detention necessary. It's just if we fill in 10 cubic yards with fill, we have to go out in that area and remove 10 cubic yards. Well, you can do a waterway to remove it and not need to build a big retention pond as big as this room because of 10 cubic yards. You just go and you scrape and you move it out of the floodplain.
Where's MG2A located?
They're in Kankakee. I'm not sure if it's Kankakee, Bradley, or Bourbonnais, but that's where they're at.
So there's two pages of 5 here, and we're gonna see in one is what's around.
With 2 pages of 5,
There's 2 out of
That's
5.
what it says.
we'll go from,
This is what I was given. Yeah.
this is what I got too. I mean, it starts out with, I dug, and it says best regards at the bottom. To me, it's a good.
They may have cover sheets and all legal stuff.
Well, they might have like here their hourly rates listed and, the scope of the work and I don't know.
Doug forwarded this in attachment to an email to all of us, so I mean, that's what we figured out, so. But I think what we're doing is the motion that Paul has made is, subject to getting a formal proposal from them by the county board meeting, effectively for sanitation, so.
We need to get going on this.
Yeah, because at this point, we're hoping to get on their schedule for spring or summer of next year. Because they're already looking for that. Any construction company. So, that's gonna be,
Yeah, I talked to one company already that's booked out for 18 months.
I'm ready to vote.
Donnie, you got any more questions?
I'm just looking at notes from last month to see if I have any more questions. I don't think so.
Take a look then.
So for the motion, is it just approve MG2A for site engineering work? Are we adding subject to receiving a formal proposal? Or is it just
Is that okay with you?
Yes.
Okay.
Bowers,
Yes.
Crowe,
Yes.
Zumwalt,
Yes.
Barons?
Yes. Okay, and the next part would be authorizing the committee, John and Doug and myself to
Expedite.
yes, take care of any of the, change orders, things like that, always come up during, so that we don't have to, because they need to move something over 6 inches, it doesn't have to go back to the whole.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Bowers,
Yes.
Crowe,
Yes.
Zumwalt,
Yes.
Barons?
Okay, anything else we need to discuss on this?
Is there anything?
I don't know of anything else at the moment.
Two questions popped into my mind, one left. Is there any update on animal control fence or anything?
No.
Nothing?
Are there any animal control issues with that building that's on the agenda?
I had just one maybe nitpicky thing, and maybe it's that I don't fully understand the whole nuances of animal control, but I did happen to stop in there, and met Linda and stuff, and they, are having, dogs kind of in offices, that Am I doing right here, Jim? That they'll kind of close dogs in offices rather than using the cages and stuff?
No, when they're cleaning,
They-
they'll let them go in one of the empty rooms. And sometimes if just to get some of their energy out, they'll let them just kind of run one at a time and let them explore a little bit and stretch their legs, because we're,
Yeah.
Which we wouldn't have had to do if we'd had the fence.
yeah. I mean, walking them only gets them so far, and they really walk them until they potty and then they go in there.
How many dogs do you have there right now?
Right now, we have 3.
3. They take each one out and walk?
Mhm.
Okay. Any cats?
We have,
You looking for some?
It's trapping season.
there's 7 cats right now.
Let's say it.
But 5 of them are kittens, because we got one that was expecting and we didn't know that, so.
But you are looking for homes for some of them.
Oh, yeah, constantly. We're constantly looking to move everybody.
Oh,
Well, the reason why I kind of brought it up was I was a little concerned about maybe some of the dogs and things kind of chewing and scratching on the doors and trim and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I've had a talk with them about, only letting them in the back room where the block is, and
Yeah.
Any other questions on it? Okay, we'll move on to claims. Everybody seen the claims? Questions on the claims?
Yeah, John had one, I'm curious.
Would you like to share?
Oh, I just didn't know what the foot bath, Peterson foot tub for $18 a piece.
We just want to know what that is. Who's getting a foot massage?
What department? was that?
Chair.
Oh,
It's what?
It's for an inmate.
Oh,
For what?
For an
Inmate.
inmate.
oh.
so it's a medical expense for an inmate.
alrighty then.
Okay. Any other questions, or I'll entertain a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Bowers,
Yes.
Crum,
Yes.
Zumal,
Yes.
Barons.
Yes. Is there any old business?
I wanted to bring up the Grant Street drainage project again, rebid it, but extend the time frame for completion until next September. Because,
Have you talked to any of the ones that had, we don't wanna get into the same thing as before by saying to have it done by then. Are they booked up to where that would still not be realistic?
no, I think if they could do it next summer, is what the feeling I got from one of them. That, spring and fall are kinda out, but what's necessary is that we get on the list.
Right.
Have the bid approved and to, when they get several jobs kind of close together, they can knock them all out in one part of the county and then move on to the other. And it gives them some flexibility as far as getting it done. And,
With that being said, do you wanna limit it to September, or do you wanna say November 31st?
that'd be fine too.
That way, that still would keep it within the budget year. But then if it's a wet summer,
Yes.
it doesn't limit us. And maybe even put a clause in there, weather permitting, so that if it did have to go, I'd rather not have them digging through a street in December.
Yes.
Okay, so we wanna get that prepared to do next month then.
Yes.
Would you be available to help with a bid proposal? Or was our bid
Well,
proposal good
I-
enough from before, do you think?
Yeah, I think it was fine from before, it just needed to have that deadline extended.
Okay.
So I really don't think we need to meet to go over it, I mean,
You think we could just
nothing's
use the same?
changed. And I don't think we need to wait until next month, do we?
It wasn't on the agenda. I don't know, what does Mr. Sherman think?
I don't see any real issue or problem in going ahead with that part of it, but I guess the question that I have, insofar as having a deadline date, I understand our interest in having a date by which the project will be completed. But on the other hand, let's say that you put a deadline date of next September, whatever it would be. And you award the contract to XYZ and they don't get it done by September, there's no penalty on them. And if they don't, it's November or December or whenever after that they come to do it. I mean, to
Would
me.
you suggest not putting a deadline on it?
Well, I mean, it's something to think about. Is it really something that has any real value? If there's, usually when there's a penalty included in a part of the contract, there's or a deadline date in the contract, there's a penalty for non-compliance. And the bidder is likely to increase the price to, as an insurance in case he doesn't make it. But in a case like this, I don't see where any of that is really germane to the whole idea.
Is there a way we could word it so that it's not, they're not putting it off for 2 years?
Well, that's a good question. I'm not sure right off the tip of my tongue that I have the answer to that, but I just wanted to, say, hey, when we put a deadline date in there, we already boxed ourselves out once, so we're gonna do the same again, kind of thing. And also the condition that if somebody goes ahead with the job and it's not, for whatever the reason, they're not able to get it done. To me, if you had that happen, you probably would want to go talk to the contractor and say, well, are you gonna be able to do it in a month? Okay, we'll extend it. If not, if you're sick or you're out of business or something, we'll cancel the contract and go to someone else.
Right.
But
And a non-compliance clause has some teeth in it that gives us opportunity for consequences if things don't get done in timely.
It would, but then that also might discourage some from bidding. Because you have so many variables, weather with piling.
And I understand that, but I think there needs to be something in the contract that says, we expect the job to be finished, and in the event that, a year and a half down the road, we're not gonna be happy if the job has not been finished for whatever reason, and we have no recourse. We need to have some recourse in that contract of some kind, whether it be a cutoff date or non-compliance or something, but we need to protect ourselves that way.
Well, do we want to put a date by which, if it's not completed, that they must notify us as to why it's not completed?
Well, that's just a reason. Anybody can come and give you a reason, but there's no avenue for recourse. There's no teeth in that.
I guess, I think that at this point, the supply chain is doing well, but,
Well, okay,
things like that.
let's look at a very worst case scenario. Someone bids it, they start it, they just don't complete it. I'm thinking of a situation we had with some ARPA money and some doors, and the money got out. So in the event that we would find ourselves, hopefully not, in a situation like that, we've got to have some recourse in there. In a very worst case scenario.
Is there something that Mr. Devine could maybe suggest?
When you talk about recourse, what recourse are you having other than canceling the contract? You're not penalizing them financially.
Well, I guess there would be damages to us. So,
If you're gonna expect somebody to pay you damages, they're not gonna bid the job.
I'm not going there, John, but there has to be some way to either get them out of it so the project can be finished, or there needs to be a way to get them to comply and finish the job, or something. I'm thinking that this is probably canned language somewhere in a construction contract if we were to consult with Mr. Devine about it. I'm thinking that this would be a plug-in component of a routine construction contract. I'm not looking to rebuild a wheel here, come up with something
Just in
new.
case
Right,
they go
Because
bankrupt
those-
or whatever.
right, because in contracts, you want all the elements for both parties to be protected.
Well, I guess we can ask Mr. Devine and then approve it at the full board meeting. Well, actually, it'd be next month, because it's not on the agenda this month, so gives us a little time to talk to him. For him to,
I mean, but that has happened where projects have been started, companies go bankrupt, they fall apart, the guy absconds and runs off with the neighbor's wife, whatever, And that can't, we've got to be able to move forward with completion of the project.
Those are all pretty well standard conditions in any contract as far as canceling the contract.
Well, I
Are
think
they in
that's
our
what I
contract?
just,
Time is of the essence in any contract.
I think that's what I just said, but we need to know that that's, and apparently it needs to be part of the specifications, that they know that going in.
we can ask Mr. Devine, see what he thinks, and go from there.
And then we can approve something Tuesday, like Lyle said.
Well, it's not, well, I guess it could be on the agenda for next
There's
week.
time.
So, all right, we'll take it from there, I guess, and see if he can give us an answer by then. I don't know how, are they in court now, or? No?
Last week, there wasn't much going on over there. I'm not sure what their schedule is this week.
All right. He's got a good assistant too, maybe he can work on it. So. All right, anything else on old business? Any new business? Anybody want to go home?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We are adjourned.